Spain is still reeling from its worst rail disaster in over a decade. At least 39 people died in the country's south after a high-speed train derailed and collided with an oncoming one. Let's get more on this with journalist Lily Mayers in Madrid. Lily, thanks very much for your time this evening. What's the latest from the accident site there?
Well, the latest that we've had from the Transport Minister in Spain is that 39 people have died in the crash. There is a potential for that death toll to rise as parts of the wreckage have been unable to be accessed, so there could be bodies that haven't yet been found. Unfortunately, more than 100 people have been injured, 48 seriously, including 5 minors, and 11 adults and 1 minor remain in a critical condition after the derailment. What we know is that 2 trains travelling in opposite directions both derailed at about 7:45 last night, just outside of Cordoba in an area called Aramuz, about an hour north of Malaga. There were 400 people across both trains travelling from Malaga to Madrid and Madrid to Huelva. The Transport Minister has said he's been to the crash site overnight, and he's described the crash as strange, given that it's happened on a stretch of straight track at a relatively lower speed where trains are obligated to travel at a lower speed. These are high-speed trains that can reach 400 kilometres an hour, but they weren't going that fast. We know that the train operated by Iryo underwent an inspection just 4 days ago, but the Transport Minister has said it will be at least a month before the investigation can fully determine what caused this crash. As you can imagine, there's a lot that goes into that investigation.
Lily, what else can you tell us about the people who were on the train and about those who died?
Well, we don't know a lot yet. As you can imagine, this happened late last night. A lot of people are waking up to the news this morning and checking in with family members to make sure they weren't involved. Emergency centres have been set up at both the crash site and the city for families to contact. There's been helplines set up to get more information about who was on these trains. As I said, there was 400 people across both trains traveling late last night in the evening. These are extremely popular train routes. They're very frequented by Spaniards. It's a huge network of trains that operate in this high-speed rail. So there's going to be a lot of people affected by this and a lot of people who don't yet know whether they're affected.
Has anything like this ever happened in Spain before?
Unfortunately, yes. In the latest one in 2013, there was Spain's worst train wreckage in which 80 people died in Galicia, in the country's northwest. That was a case of a train travelling at extremely high speeds, overspeeding, and crashing, derailing after hitting a curve at very high speeds. So there's no indication yet at all whether this is a similar case.
You mentioned before that this is a straight section of track. It had only been renewed in May. Authorities are saying that it's quite strange that an accident happened of this magnitude. Are there any theories so far about how it came to be?
No, and authorities are saying it's very dangerous to speculate at this stage. They don't know. They've just given us the feedback that it's very strange. So obviously, as laymen, we don't know what that means. The Prime Minister is travelling to the site this morning, as well as other authorities, to investigate. All we have now is an aerial view of the crash site and the testimonies of those who survived. There's been videos surfacing overnight of the incredible work that staff members and passengers were doing to get those injured and survivors off the train and into safety in extremely difficult conditions in the middle of the night, and in an area that's quite rural, and the actual crash site is kind of on an embankment with a sort of shallow ravine on either side. So very difficult conditions for those both in the crash and the emergency services working overnight to help them.
Finally, Lily, have the 2 rail operators involved in this accident had anything to say?
Yes, both the operators, Alif and Iryo, have released statements this morning. They've shared their condolences. They've set up emergency phone lines and centres to assist families. As I said earlier, they're cooperating fully with investigators, and high-speed rail traffic will obviously be affected between a lot of the southern lines and Madrid throughout today, and it's going to be impossible for a while for the affected trains to be actually removed from the tracks and the side of the tracks. So they're expecting the fallout to be at least a couple of days after this derailment.
Journalist Lily May is joining us there in Madrid. Thank you.
Thank you.